Another day, another video of more woke nonsense going on in the world, and I'm sure you guys are tired of the nonsense. But as I usually say, I am not going to talk anymore, so let us get into the video.
The House of Mouse is falling down. Disney's last 4 big releases have bombed at the box office. The company is currently no longer Hollywood's #1 film studio. Recent box office takings show even Marvel has lost its, well, Marvel. And critics say the reason is simple. Disney's prioritized identity politics over entertainment, pushing messages audiences don't want or need to hear. So have they got a point? Well, to discuss all that and more, two titans of YouTube are returning to Uncensored by popular demand, Critical Drinker and Nedrotic, otherwise known as Will and Gary, but I prefer your stage names, guys. We're going to stick to those. Also here to debate is Uncensored contributor Esther Krakow and the author for The Case for Cancel Culture, Ernest Owens, which is one of the worst named titles of a book, Ernest, I can ever envisage, but we'll let that pass. All right, let's start with Disney, because there's a huge civil war raging with Disney, with board members, investors, all trying to work out what is going wrong with the recent series of flops, because Disney is not used to having flops. Nelson Peltz, who's a serious investor in Disney, has criticised Disney's woke strategy in an interview with the Financial Times. He said, "Why do I have to have a Marvel movie that's all women? Not that I have anything against women, but why do I have to do that? Why do I need an all-black cast?" What do you think of this? Critical Drinker, there's no doubt Disney's in a pretty poor run at the moment. How much of that is down to woking up the movies?
I think it's definitely a factor, but it's part of a much bigger picture that incorporates other issues like a general decline in storytelling quality, a prioritization of quantity over quality, and delving too much into identity politics, which by their nature are divisive. Of course they are. And so all of those different factors working together have slowly undermined their creative output to the point where all of their major franchises are failing. Star Wars is kind of a disaster at the moment. The Marvel Cinematic Universe that used to be this money printing behemoth is churned out flop after flop in recent years, and even their own unique animation movies like Wish,
Haunted Mansion flop, Pixar flops all over the place.
Yes, exactly. All of those different aspects of their creative output have flopped, and they've got nowhere to go at this point. Clearly something has to change. What they're doing is not working anymore.
And the crazy thing is, this has been going on for years. All of these agendas that have been placed into shows and placed into movies, it's been going on for years. And I noticed it years ago with a lot of these shows like The Simpsons, where they make the men to seem like they're idiots. They start off with the breakdown of family and then they go from there. If you realize and watch back all of these old shows, you will see that the man is an idiot and the woman is always some sort of superhero. And now they've just pushed that out more in these movies that they're bringing out now. They've gone so woke and trying to push an agenda that their shows and movies are flopping because people don't want to see all of this nonsense that's going on with changing the races of characters that we knew to be a certain race. All in the name of catering to people's feelings. These people have allowed their companies to flop and make flop after flop.
Nedrotic, She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, a comic book tale featuring a strong female lead. The Marvels, a comic book movie featuring a diverse cast of strong female leads. Elemental, Disney's first animation featuring their first strong non-binary lead. All flops. Maybe a coincidence, maybe not. People who are intent on attacking Disney saying, well, this is because they're pursuing a strategy that's not based on just producing great movies. They're pursuing a strategy trying to appease the woke brigade who will come hunting for them if they deviate from the woke worldview. Your thoughts?
The woke brigade that's within their building, right? So,
right.
We see all these third-party companies in gaming that's going off right now. But like Disney is that third-party company. They are the DEI department. Lucasfilm is the DEI department, and now Marvel is too. And it was really easy for comic book fans to figure this out because we read the comic books. She-Hulk, for example, was a great comic book. It was reverent. It broke the fourth wall. That the famous run is by John Byrne, and I love the comic book. She-Hulk was a member of the Fantastic Four. This is one of my favorite female Marvel characters, and they destroyed her because they don't know what they're doing. I did a a clip in one of my videos of all of the writers for most of the D Plus shows. I'm sorry, Disney Plus, stating that they didn't know anything about the comics and they didn't read the comics. And that's part of the reason, because they're just there for identity politics. It's simple. We used to joke about they're just checking boxes.
That's all it is nowadays. It's all about checking boxes for these woke people. I grew up watching many shows and many anime, and I didn't need to see someone be black for me to watch that show and relate to them. It's crazy now that we live in a world where people for some reason, or certain people for some reason, needs to see someone who represents them as if that's the only way you can watch a show. Gone are the days that we aspire to be someone. Now we have to look like someone or be like someone in order to watch certain things. The days where we are able to look at someone, admire them, and try to aspire to be like that were the better days, because it pushed us to become better people. Nowadays we celebrate mediocrity as if that's a good thing. I love the days where I can aspire and try to be someone like the Dragon Ball Z universe, where I could aspire to try and get to the state that they were at, even though it was obviously impossible. But it pushed us to become better people, whereas nowadays we celebrate being average.
They're literally checking boxes now,
Right.
which kills creativity.
Ernest, you'd be sitting there grimacing. I mean, it's clearly demonstrably not working, this strategy. And I've just looking from the outside, look at it and think, yeah, they have been too concerned about identity politics, too concerned about appeasing their very woke workforce. And they should have just stuck to doing what Disney does best, make great family films and make a ton of cash.
Before we get back into the video, I need everyone to turn on their post notifications so that you get notified whenever one of my videos come out. Like the video as much as possible, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and follow me on Twitter at YinkaThatGuy. Let us get back into the video.
So there's a lot of misinformation, and I think the issue is that no one here is actually really reading the real strategy. The problem is several things. There's a missing implication. There has been, arguably, films that were super successful. Black Panther had a predominantly black cast, not all black cast, and made $1.3 billion at the box office and had a really successful sequel. The reality is that when you start saying woke or DEI, you know, there's another implication there where you're implying in many ways that what is the opposite of lack of diversity in those films? It's feeding to an all white cast or majority white cast and a lack of diversity. I don't think that that's what Disney's trying to do, and I don't think that's what Hollywood should do, because it doesn't reflect the society we live in. However, what's missing in this conversation is that the reason why a lot of these films are not doing as well is because many of them are spinoffs, sequels, or there's just overall fatigue in the market where people want original stories. So I do think that rather than try to make this a culture war, which really it isn't, it's more of a change in taste from the audiences and what they want. Let's keep it 100. Pixar has not really made too many original films that have really been able to be fully marketed. And there's been an oversaturation of them. There's an oversaturation of Marvel. But if you look at other films elsewhere, there has seemed to be a trend of liking diversity, TV shows, streaming platforms. And so it seems to be a little bit intellectually dishonest to frame it in this way. I think there's another way to look at it.
And I'll come to Esther at once. I mean, I would just say, you know, my favorite movie the last few years was Top Gun Maverick, because it just did what it said on the tin. Right? The guys behaved like guys, the women behaved like women, bad guys got slotted, and the good guys were heroes. I mean, that used to be how movies got made in Hollywood. They celebrated the basics in life. Now they're too busy worrying about what the basics in life actually are. Esther, I want to play a clip from South Park. Take a look at this.
Is there a problem, people?
We were just discussing ideas of what to do with the new Prince Eric movie.
Put a chick in it, make her gay!
Maybe we should go a different route than we did with Indiana Jones.
Fuck Indiana Jones, put a chick in it and make her name it gay!
I haven't watched South Park in a long time, but a lot of times the things that they say are absolutely true. I wouldn't be surprised that if you go into the board offices of all of these companies, this is literally how they come up with their ideas. People will have complaints and all they'll say is just put more wokeness in it, put more of the ABCD community in it, and then they think they'll fix things that way. South Park has a knack of being on point with a lot of things that they say, and it's always hilarious to see them come up with the things that they come up with.
Again. Kathleen Kennedy is down on set right now ruining the new Bambi movie.
Any diverse woman in it, make it gay!
Bambi's a baby deer.
Fuck baby dear, put a chick in it, make her gay!
Now, the thing about South Park, as Meghan and Harry can tell you, is that through their comedy, they often absolutely nail the truth. Esther, your thoughts?
Well, I think the argument that they've not been making enough independent films and that's why they've been flopping. Well, the independent films that they have made have also flopped because they've not been focusing on storytelling. They're always thinking, how can I have a transgender Muslim black woman in there? And they've stopped thinking about storytelling because they actually look down on the audience that they're targeting. I also think there's another dynamic here, which is actually the media. So the media works against them. So if you actually just wanted to tell a story and the entire cast of that film was white, even before you watch the movie, all the promo will just be saturated by these sort of pink news articles saying, oh, it's sexist, it's homophobic, it's transgender. So even before the film comes out, you have media working against you. So in that, and the media will be easily disseminated. So that will kind of kill the buzz before anyone bothers to watch the film. And I think that's the issue. They've stopped respecting the audience and they feel the need to preach to them.
I just think that's so right. I just think Disney should go back to what they're good at. It's a fantastic company that used to make fantastic movies and hardly ever had a flop because they knew their audience so well and they didn't attack their audience.
Those movies were not sequels.
Sorry,
a lot of those movies were not sequels. A lot of those movies were not.
But going back to Black Panther, did Black Panther succeed because there were black people in it? No,
it was a great story.
It was a recognizable character that comic fans that I have been reading since I was 6 and 7 years old.
And the thing is, they tried to replicate
followed
the same exact formula for Black Panther with the second one, and it made half as much. Clearly,
half as
were
much.
Yeah,
I mean,
I want to be clear.
And no one talks about it anymore.
In his statement, I want to be clear that Peltz did say in that interview that basically argued that the Marvels and Black Panther, he didn't even want to get Black Panther made. And in Iger's book that he came out in 2019, he referenced that they had to fight to get Black Panther to come out.
That was Ike Perlmutter, not Nelson Peltz.
Why? You're right. You're right. Why?
Who's backing Nelson Peltz? Why?
Right. Why?
They didn't think it would sell action figures, and he was obviously wrong on that one. And he didn't want Captain Marvel made either. But there's a lot of fishiness around Captain Marvel. And then when the sequel came out, which was the most predictable flop of all time, it flopped. It was their biggest flop. They didn't put any effort in it because they didn't put any. If you watch Captain Marvel and read the books that she was based on, she was Carol Danvers. She was Miss Marvel. She was a likable character. They turned her into a dude.
Everything in this life is not about racism. Just because someone doesn't want to put out a certain thing or they thought that Black Panther might not do as well as it did doesn't mean that they were racist. Maybe they look at the market and think that the market won't accept the film the way that it did. Not everything is about racism and how everyone's oppressed and how everything is against you. That's the problem in today's world. You people love being victims and not everything is about that.
The edict, he said, we're going to make half of our characters women. That's where the MCU comes from. I didn't create it. Nobody created it. Kevin Feige created it. He's the one who said, I'm going to put down this edict and I'm going to start checking boxes. And that's exactly when they started failing, right after Captain Marvel. It's been all downhill from there. Very few of their movies have made money because the budgets have blown up beyond we don't even know. We just learned that Doctor Strange cost around $300 million without marketing.
But by the way, that's the same thing that they did to Barbie. Can I just point that out? I know comic books are not as popular as Barbie, but I'm a huge Barbie fan. And the people who made Barbie didn't bother to watch one of the 47 animated Barbie films. If you actually are a fan of Barbie, the Barbie film that was produced last year and made all that money, it was a complete abomination because they didn't even bother to actually do any research. This is the thing. They have activists instead of filmmakers. That's the problem. And no one wants to watch something that's preachy and boring.
Candace Owens Jr., listen, it's not a flop.
It's a flop.
Barbie did the thing. Barbie
was an abomination.
And so all this argument about woke and this, at the end of the day, it was a fresh, original concept. People want to go see diverse films, but they also want to see things.
No, they don't.
So there was nothing diverse about it.
Want to see
Barbie
good
here.
films.
They
don't care about
diversity.
They don't care about
political.
Don't all talk over each other. But let me just be clear. To be clear, Barbie was not a film about diversity. It was a film bashing men, attacking the patriarchy, and saying that all the good things in the world are female. And the only funny thing about it was at the Oscars, it was all about Ryan Gosling. Ken had the last laugh as Margot Robbie sat in the seats, unwanted and unattended. And I love Margot Robbie, but let's not pretend what Barbie was. It was a box office smash, and, as Esther said, an abomination.
These people are just so out of touch with reality, and the more they continue on with this nonsense, the more all of their films will continue to flop because they are so adamant to push out all of this diversity, and they care too much about catering to the ABCD community that they will forego making a good film. But anyway, that was another video, another reaction. As I usually say, if you guys enjoyed the video, like the video as much as possible, comment down below, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and follow me on Twitter /X at YinkaThatGuy, and I am out.